Stream. Hey! We're 6 seconds in. I just turned the beeps off my phone. I'm just going to check and see if we're broadcasting anywhere because I want to get the same feedback as we used to, hey? Feedback loop, feedback loop, feedback loop. Oh, there we go.
I'm listening.
Okay. Jesse.
Yeah.
What is the difference between, oh, there we go. There's a reason we're upside down is it's, we're just running one camera right now, so it's a lot easier if we switch back and forth between the upside down view and the right side up view, because this way we can do the hand lessons. And sorry, I'm multitasking. I'm deleting a lot of stuff. Okay, there we go. All right, so Jesse, what is the difference between drawing and painting?
I would say that.
What did they teach you in art school? One of these is drawing, the other is painting.
I would say painting is thinking about the form, and drawing is thinking about kind of, like, you use different illusions to build form too.
Sure.
Like what
This
we
is
talked
made out
about
of-
is like cutting things
Wow,
away.
wow.
And
Did I cut you off?
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
like cutting away, and then painting is more like sculpting,
Sure.
building up.
Do you remember ever thinking when you were younger that wet media was painting and dry media was drawing? The reason I ask is I'm going to put this on airplane just in case people keep sending messages. Out of respect for those that we love.
Scroll down.
Hi. Welcome to my phone. I'm the boss of me. Okay. So here we go. Did you ever think that wet media was painting and dry media was drawing?
I guess at some point, yeah.
Yeah, so initially I would have thought this was drawing, and this is, well, I still think this is painting and this is drawing. However, this is done with wet in the ink, and this is done with chalks.
Huh.
So what is the difference then? If it doesn't matter if it's wet or dry, what's the difference between drawing and painting? Well, you're saying it's a matter of what?
Like carving away and building up.
What does that mean?
Like drawing, you find the edges of things.
Yeah.
And painting, you're filling, you're building, you're like.
Okay.
That's in my head.
No, that's fair. This isn't something that I learned in the. Can I get you more? Yeah. This isn't something I learned in a class anywhere. It's a theory I came up with my own. But I was in a sculpture class, and it was a sculpture and a fabrication class.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how it's different. And what I noticed, that the through fabricating. So fabricating means pushing things together, kind of like Lego.
Yeah.
Sculpting means actually like chopping things up. So a lot of times when people say sculpture, they're thinking about 3D, but what they really mean is when you're carving away at something. I took the blade out of my knife, and it's actually not that sharp, so I'm a little disappointed. But here's a blade. So here's what I'm going to say. I kind of worked this out for myself one time. I have a foam piece here, and I have a piece of canvas here, and I want to talk about how, to me, the idea of the imaginary space and the real space kind of become different when you're looking at drawing and sculpture. Come look at this. So if I drew a line through here,
yeah,
what I'm doing is I'm kind of imagining that this space and this space is a solid object.
Yeah. And
by carving that line, what I'm kind of doing is chopping into that object.
Yeah.
Watch this though.
So satisfying.
Wait though.
Oh.
And creating the illusion of this space being a chopping. Now, this wouldn't work as a sculpture because this piece would drop off, right? So if you imagine that the space behind the sculpture is a lot like kind of this black here is nothingness, and this white here is, in this case, foam,
something, yeah.
right? And then when I draw a line on a piece of paper, it's like I've created this space of nothingness, right? And if I cover a whole section off like this, it's like I've created some nothingness, right?
That's really cool.
I know, I was thinking about this for a little while. I was like, it was distracting me all day. Okay, so if I put this aside, right, because my nothing plus nothing equals nothing, in the sense that I'm imagining anything I color black as empty, and anything that I leave white as solid, it's a little bit like saying the white paper is my reality, and the blackness on the white paper is my negative space. Now, in painting, it's different, because what I tend to do in painting is I assume my canvas is nothing. It's a little bit like I'm pretending my canvas doesn't exist, and I might put some gesso on it, right? And cover it up in gesso. And part of the covering it up with gesso is also sort of pretending that it doesn't exist, right? I'm kind of like, let's pretend this brown canvas is even more invisible than it was before. So I put the white gesso on, right? And I'm still imagining it's nothing. There are no borders. But if I put like a hot spot in the middle, it's like as though if I imagine the canvas isn't there, I put this hot spot in the middle, and now I have a dot that's kind of taking up this imaginary space. Now I haven't informed my edges at all, and that's why I think I'm a little more forgiving in a drawing when a student says, "Oh, I just like to leave the white paper." It's like, well, I guess that's kind of a tradition in drawing, but it's also assuming that these corners actually exist. Whereas in a painting, when you leave parts unpainted, there's this weird sense of unfinishedness, and it's because you've got the dot there that exists, and you're imagining that that dot is real. I'm also using warm and cool colors to create the illusion of space in this imaginary space that doesn't really exist, right? So as I use my warmer and cool colors, I'm creating in this, and these edges, they don't exist until I put them there. So if I put some blues back here, right? And then right now I have edges on this painting, right? And then I might take some other cool colors and make like, here's my purple. All right, so this isn't in a textbook that I know of. This is just something that I've used to kind of explain to myself how I personally understand such things. I'm getting nicer colors on my paper than my canvas, and that's just straight up because the gesso, this canvas probably would have been a better demonstration if I gessoed the canvas and you had a nice, but I wanted you to be able to see canvas as actually canvas. And because I'm at home, what I ended up doing was going to the back of one of my paintings and cutting a little swatch of canvas off. So if I ever resell the painting of Jess and I in her wedding, you'll find that now, what if I were to put color onto my sculpture? Well, I certainly could put a nice green X on my sculpture, and I could put a nice green X on my drawing. And then you start to split the difference between drawing and painting. But when you're adding to with color, when you're building up out of nothing with colors, creating the illusion of three-dimensionality, that's what I like to think of as painting. When you're, whether wet or dry media, creating shapes out of a solid by cutting away. And this goes back to what I'm saying about positive and negative space, right? This one right here is a negative. I start out with everything and I spend all my time cutting away. And this is a positive. I start out with nothing and I build into this imaginary space. And that's why all the way through my teaching, I'm often talking about positive and negative space. And that started with kind of an addiction to this question, what's the difference between drawing and painting? Now, I specifically remember asking, Richard Halliday what the difference was, and that was at the end of first year while I was picking my department. I was like, what's the difference between drawing and painting? And he kind of just laughed like, you're going to have an interesting life. I don't know. And then the other thing that happened was it occurred to me the painting department was doing a lot of reading, and the drawing department, I think maybe a lot of
experimental.
I was going to say drinking, but yes. Okay, that's my 9 minute and 53 lesson for today.
Woohoo!
I did it on the YouTube and on the Facebook page, and I will send a backup copy to the other one by